Hi, I'm Shannon Chavla with Authentic Healing. I'm so glad you're here. So why does support matter when we are trying to make changes in our health and healing? Why does that even make a difference? Well, because most of us we kind of get in our own habits and our patterns. And so when we're trying to make change, having someone else who is just this different perspective, who is a co-regulator, who is seeing things in a way where maybe we don't see them, and help us push through those edges is really important. So in the last few videos, I've talked about a few things. I've talked about the fear response, the protection and armoring response, and then also nourishment, right? All three of those come back to the same place, which is how our nervous systems respond to the world, how our nervous systems respond to pain, aches and pains, and any sort of illness, right? How do we as humans, our mind, our body, our hearts, and our souls respond to life? And often, for most of us, we kind of get set in a certain pattern, right? Maybe there's family genetics, or there's things we've learned, or just us as individuals that we're like, yeah, this is how I'm going to do it. And we get stuck in patterns, right? Because change is sometimes uncomfortable, right? When we change, it's like it stirs up all these parts of ourselves that maybe we don't really want to look at because we think it's going to be harder. But in the end, actually, it's not. You know, if we push the uncomfortable just a little bit, sometimes more comfort comes in than what we're expecting. So having this extra support reminds us of that. Having a person or a situation or a group of people that help nurture us into staying on a path that creates health and healing and understanding, right? So why do we struggle with this? Why do we tend to struggle with change as humans? Well, for most of us, it can be about energy, right? We get tired. We have long days, we're working, maybe you have a family, and you have pain that you're managing. And so the thought of taking even just a little extra energy to shift something is overwhelming. It's like, no way, there's no way I'm doing that. Are you kidding? And even though underneath you're like, I don't want to feel this way anymore, that oomph of trying to make the change feels even more. So that's one area that it's hard for us to think about making changes. It's really about energy, overwhelm, right? We get overwhelmed by, well, what should I be doing? Should I change my diet? Because that's just overwhelming, right? Should I change my activity level? And if I do, well, what should I be doing? Right? Should I change my sleep? What about my supplements? Like, oh, I don't know. So we get overwhelmed because we don't quite know which direction we really want to be going, right? So life gets busy. We get tired, all of these reasons, right? And so then there could be the idea of like, oh, those are just excuses. Well, I don't think that's true when you're living in a system with chronic pain. I think that the brain changes, the body changes. And when you're trying to navigate that chronic pain, it's a whole different story. So the very first thing that needs to be hopefully removed is the idea of shame and the idea that you're not doing it right. Because my belief system is that we're not trying to fix something. We're trying to actually come into what is already working and what's already in wholeness, right? There's already so much about being a human, no matter who you are, no matter what situation you've been in, that has the capacity to heal, that has the capacity to be whole. That is there. And it's so great when we have someone that supports us with that. So I do believe that there are different paths for that. There are retreats, there's coaching, there is mentoring, there are your doctors, there are communities, good friends, there are physical therapists, there are trainers. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's just finding the one that really helps you stay on track and that helps you learn the ebbs and flows of your energy. So after you've had a full day and you're like, yeah, that's a wrap, that's okay. And then you add a little something. You're acknowledging the fatigue, you're acknowledging the need to check out for a little while, and then you push yourself just a bit to get back on track. Right? Those are the important pieces, is that we not give up completely, but that we give ourselves these little islands to float for a while, right? I mean, I know for myself, I have really long days, right? And I do a lot for a lot of people, and I love what I do, and I really, really enjoy my work. And I also need to check out. And so sometimes I just love binging a series, right? Because I don't have to think about a thing. It helps me just get out of whatever it is that I need to just have space from for a moment. And it's actually very energizing for me and helps me center because I've checked out just for a short time. But I trust that I'm not constantly in that state and that need to always be there. That is just something that I'm using to help my mind and my body just go offline for a little while, right? Also on the other side, for me, yoga. Yoga is huge for me to actually just find that energy again, find that centering, because I'm in my body, I'm in my breath. You know, I like warmer yoga classes. And so I'm coming into present moment and I'm checking out from everything else just for that little while. And it really nourishes me. And it nourishes like my health, my well-being, everything. So those finding what works for you when you're finding the ebb and flow is really important. And finding someone that you can work with, that you trust, that guides you, that you don't feel, is pushing you in a way that is so uncomfortable, but pushes you enough to get you out of the way of healing. So, if you're considering starting something new, I just want to try something new. Find something every day that you can do that changes a habit. All right, I'm watching TV for an hour. I'm going to watch it for 45 minutes. All right, instead of having this and this to eat, I'm going to choose to not have that tomorrow. I'm going to go and I'm going to take a walk for 5 minutes. I'm going to go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Find something. Find something that you know is good for you, nourishing for you, and helps you change a routine. And then I recommend that you find someone to help you with this consistency if you are someone that's not natural to. Some people are very natural at that. Most of us are not. Most of us ebb and flow. We really put our all into something and then it goes away, right? That's just being a human. So how do we pick back up? When do we pick back up? And how quickly can we pick back up to get right back on track to feeling better, to nourishing ourselves, to helping reduce the responses of that armoring and the fear response, and to help our bodies feel more centered and engaged and trusting that we are wired to also know peace and rest, not just stress and overwhelm. Thanks for being here.